Well, it's 12:01. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Happy Halloween, everybody. I do have just some useless knowledge for you. I don't know if we've got bats on our slides here, and this week actually is International Bat Week. I don't know if people celebrate bats at all, but there are 9 different species of bats in the state of Iowa. I don't know what they are, but there's 9 different bats. So there's some useless knowledge for you on this Halloween. We've got a lot to go over today, so we're going to get started here. I just want to do a couple of housekeeping things. There is an interpreter that should be pinned for you. We do have closed captioning, and you can see that button hopefully on the bottom of your screen. Some people do have to hit the 3 little dots that say more to get that to appear. And I think with that, I guess I never asked if I was turning it over to Carlin or Amy to kick us off, but we've got a lot to cover. We're going to do the federal update, a state update. Then we're going to talk about some new employment stuff and a pretty cool campaign that we're going to be running. And then I think we're going to open it up then for questions. So it looks like I'm turning it over to Carlin. So Carlin, take it away.
Thanks, Brooke. And thanks everybody for joining us today. We're glad to have you on our call. We got a lot of some scary things to talk about, but also some things that you can take action on too right away. So we got a lot to get through. And this slide shows you a lot to get through. And this is just a few of the things going on at the federal level that I'm sure you all have heard about, at least one or a couple of them from different sources. And so we can't get through all of them today in detail, but we'll highlight the highlights. And at the top of the list is SNAP. And as many of you have probably heard, SNAP benefits are going to be frozen or cut off for the 42 million Americans who receive supplemental nutrition assistance. That's what SNAP stands for. That's 1 out of 8 Americans. And in case you're interested, the federal budget for SNAP is $9 billion a month. So it's a lot of money, it's a lot of people, and so this is going to have a huge impact. We know that this is also going to impact people with disabilities. 35% of people who receive SNAP food assistance are either in families or individuals who have disabilities or are older adults also. So again, that's a lot of people. And also, you may not know that 50% of people who are using SNAP benefits right now are also employed. So there's a lot of misperceptions about people who are on SNAP, and that's the way things are coming down with these cuts and benefits being frozen. It's not helping to educate about who is using SNAP, but one of the things that we can do to help is educate our lawmakers on who is using SNAP and who is going to be hurt. And so there's some of our partner organizations are sharing stories of individuals who will be impacted because of the SNAP cuts. And that always helps to put a face on all of these big numbers, because these are huge numbers. So in Iowa, and earlier today, the governor had a press conference about Iowa's response. She threw out some of the same numbers that Amy and I had pulled together for this. There are 131 households that receive SNAP benefits in Iowa, and that equates to 267,000 Iowans, and that's equates to $45 million in benefits in 1 month. So in the month of November, that's $45 million that will not be put onto individuals' EBT cards that are used to buy food, which means that's $45 million that's not going into the Iowa economy through grocery stores and the other places where people who use a SNAP EBT card buy their food. So all of that information comes from the USDA. And Iowa's response, they're different, states handle SNAP differently. So there are some states who are backfilling what the federal government is not paying out in those EBT cards and are able to cover SNAP benefits for their citizens who are on SNAP for this month. But they're going week by week, some of the states. And there are others who, like Iowa, are not going to use state funds. But what the governor has announced is that the state will fund up to $1 million to food banks and food pantries who distribute food if people also donate. So that's a match. So if we donate $10, the state will match that up to $1 million. So it's not the state using that doesn't mean people will get that money on their EBT card. It means you have to go to a food pantry to get that food. So it's a different way of maybe filling the gap, which will help. But if you can equate, if that works out, that's $2 million of the $45 million that would have typically come through from the federal government. Other organizations are also making donations to food pantries, and that's helping make a difference. So there's many ways that you can help. And there's also, we want to give you information in case you are a SNAP recipient, or you live with one, or you're a caretaker, or someone who works with people who rely on food assistance. We put some links in the chat to Feeding America. There's also some things to be careful with if people who are wanting to help people buy food, and you also are receiving Social Security or Medicaid. Be careful in what kind of cash or how people might be able to support you at this time, because some of that could count against your income. So there is a link to information on how to protect your benefits if you are getting help, and we hope that you are. And we hope the people who need it can get assistance during this time. But again, we have to be careful about that. So the way that other states have, and that's listed on the slide here, some other states have replied to this cut or freeze of SNAP benefits is to sue the USDA to release. There's about $6 billion in a contingency fund that the USDA could release this month to cover at least part of that SNAP deficit. And the USDA is not doing it, so 25 states are suing. Iowa is not part of that lawsuit. So perhaps that could make a difference also. We hope so. So let me get through a couple other things here, and then we'll ask if you have questions or experiences. This is all part of the government shutdown, which we are now in day 31, and things are getting more scary. So other programs that are impacted are housing assistance, childcare, parks are shut down. Many people are furloughed. There's natural disaster assistance and energy assistance and traffic controllers is listed, and a lot more that's being affected. So it is a scary time. It's a time that everybody's placing blame on somebody else. And this is all on Congress's back. It's not one party or the other. They're not negotiating with each other. And so it's everybody's fault. So it's not time to play the blame game. It's time to call your members of Congress and tell them what you're experiencing and how they can make it better. And you've probably heard that the holdup is over the Affordable Care Act and tax credits and benefits that are tied to that, which are important also. So you don't have to know all that detail, but if you do reach out to your members of Congress, just tell them how these things are impacting you, and that we would like to see them compromise. This is what Governing is all about compromise and negotiation, and that's not happening, and that's the problem. So another huge area for people with disabilities that is being impacted is the Department of Education. And we've heard this before. It happened this spring where huge cuts were made to the US Department of Education. And then after the shutdown, the administration cut or fired 121 people from the Office of Special Education, which is almost everybody. A few administrators are left. But a good thing that happened this week actually is that a judge blocked those layoffs from happening or reductions in force. And so those people are still employed, but they're not working right now because of the shutdown. And so they're furloughed. So, or many of them are. So if this carries through and those people do not or do move into layoffs, then it's a huge impact on special education and all of the programs and services that are supported by it. And that's including the federal dollars that flow through the U.S. Department of Education and come to the states. So it could have a huge impact on Iowa and also on how services are provided to kids in special education. So we will keep everybody updated as changes in that come along. There's a lot of talk going on about where special education services would go if there's no Department of Education, and it's all very concerning for how we implement the IDEA, or Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So that's troubling and a little bit scary. A couple other things that we put on the slide, again, there's so many that we could talk about. There were rules proposed for that would help people with disabilities who are flying and protect their wheelchairs and give them room on airplanes, and those rules are being suspended or they're not going into effect as we had hoped they would be. And then recently there was a bill proposed which sounds good in theory. This is again in Congress, HR 4022, that would improve access to behavioral health. The problem is it moves it from community-based behavioral health into institutionally based assistance. So it goes kind of backwards of how we want things to go and move things out of institutions and into the community. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 to talk about, but all in all, it's moving us away from our goal of people living in the community that they choose and being served as they can be. So those are a few things. And is there any questions that you all have that we might be able to help with, or things that you're hearing about how the shutdown or these cuts are happening? Please feel free to share out loud or in the chat. All right, you can keep thinking about those too, and we can move on to state update with Amy's going to talk about.
Yeah, okay. So quick update, we talked a little bit about this at the last Capitol chat, but we have got 2 new leaders in the Iowa legislature. Both majority leaders in the House and the Senate have stepped down. They're still serving in the legislature. They're still elected, but they are no longer going to be leaders. Both of them are one Senator Whitfer is battling brain cancer. So Senator Klimisch is the new majority leader. You may recognize his name. He was last year he served as, or I guess it was this year, earlier this year, served as the Senate HHS chair. And then he was also vice chair of the budget for the Health and Human Services budget. So he is now the leader in the Senate, and Representative Bobby Kaufman is the new House Majority Leader. He takes over for Representative Matt Winchell, who is running for Congress for the seat that Representative Feenstra holds right now over in Western Iowa. And that has triggered some new committee changes. I have just updated last night the bill, the guide, legislative guide. So the current version is up on the website now. There will be some more changes, but we do have some new committee chairs. Senator Carol Warmy from Story County. She's in the Ames area. She is taking over as the new Senate HHS committee chair. She was a direct VP for YSS up in Ames, so a youth services and behavioral health program provider, so is pretty familiar with a lot of the issues on HHS herself. Representative Austin Harris is the new HHS committee chair on the House side. So we have two new chairs that are going to be leading those committees. And he is from down south, kind of around the Rathbun area, and has not served on the HHS committee before. So he's, I know, going around and meeting a lot of people now. Representative David Young, so former congressman over in the Dallas County, just outside the metro area in Van Meter. He's the new commerce chair. And commerce in the House, commerce deals with like insurance issues or insurance mandates, like if you mandate a type of service be covered by insurance, then that would go through the Commerce Committee. We know transportation is a big issue for a lot of people. Representative Megan Jones from Spencer is the new chair for that. And then Representative Dan Galebach is taking over the House Education Budget Chair. And he is he's owned Mathnasium, so has pretty strong educational background. And that committee would be the one that deals with like special education and some of the issues we've been working on. But I do encourage you to look at the guide. There will be another round of changes because we still have 2 special elections in December. After the death of Senator Claire Celsi, and Representative Mike Sexton took a job with the Trump administration. So those are the 2 special elections. So those will be the 5th and 6th special elections of this year. And that's as many as I've ever seen in a year. And one of these days I'm going to go and look and see if it's the most. You probably heard a lot about this. Has been in the news a lot in the last a couple of weeks ago, but the state was looking at, we look at the revenues, that's the money that the state collects from taxes and other fees. And that's kind of like their income. And then they decide in the legislature how to spend that. So you don't want to spend more than what you have in the bank, right? You don't want to spend more than what you think you're going to earn in that year. Well, the state has. We have a $9.3 billion budget for this year, and we are not collecting that much money. We're collecting, in fact, $1.3 billion less than that. So 1/10 of the budget we are not collecting. So that's a 9% drop. It was expected that we're going to be dropping in revenues from what we expected, because we've been cutting taxes, and we're now at that rate where we no longer go down any further in taxes, income taxes. $198 million of that was due to the Big Beautiful Bill Act and changes that were made in that. So how are we going to manage this? The state put aside money in a taxpayer relief fund to help pay for these drops in revenues. They just didn't expect it to be this big, because it's going to have to float us for a couple of years until things even off. So that's their plan, is this year they will take money out of the taxpayer relief fund to make up that $1.3 billion. But, you know, we have the private school educational savings accounts that are coming online. Anybody of any income this year will be able to get funding to send their kids to private school. So that is going to increase and is not included in this budget projection. It's the farm economy. You're hearing a lot about soybean farmers not having any way to sell their soybeans. So the farm economy has not fully hit this. So our state budget does not look good. And that's going to have an impact on all of us because a lot of the requests that people have cost money and there isn't any. So that'll be challenging next year. So we have one more estimate. They'll take another look at this in December and come up with new numbers. And then the governor's budget will be based on that. And then the legislature will set the budget based on the lesser of two estimates, the one in December or the one in March. That's why you don't see our budgets getting started until really March of any year because they wait for that last estimate. Probably more important to you all is the Medicaid shortfall. As you know, we had surpluses, like extra money in Medicaid because of the enhanced federal match during the pandemic, and we've been kind of slowly using that, and now we're having a shortfall where we actually have to put more state dollars in. So for this current fiscal year, it's 76 million. That means next year at the Capitol, we will have to get a supplemental, which means an appropriation for this current fiscal year to get us through to July 1. And then for next year, it's $181 million. And that's just to keep everything exactly the same, not to do any additional provider rate increases, add any additional people onto Medicaid, do any waiver changes, anything. That also doesn't include what is expected to be $114 million that MCOs need for their capitation rate increases. So that would be on top of the $181 million. So you can see we don't have money to spend, and we have a need just to keep a pretty significant need just to keep Medicaid the same. So I'm going to pause there before I go to the next slide and see if anybody has any questions about that. The long and the short of it is we don't have enough money and we have more need than we have money. So kind of a tough time. Okay, well, I'm going to go on to the next slide, which I believe is back to Carlin.
Carlin, you're on mute.
Well, that was my goblins. That wasn't me. Thanks for telling me. So we're excited to talk about a new campaign we're working on starting in November, but did want to point out that we're just coming out of October, which is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And we'll talk about that a little bit after we talk about the Blitz and some good stories that we heard coming out of that month. There was a lot of great training going on also. So we're coming right out of that and into November with a Blitz. And this is a new part of a new campaign called Let Us Work. And the campaign is designed to carry through support for policies that have been introduced in the Iowa legislature already, mostly around the Work Without Worry bill and what that bill proposed, which was eliminating or changing the Medicaid income and asset limits for people with disabilities who work and who are on Medicaid, specifically MEPD. So we're launching this campaign early in November and December to try and touch base, get in contact with every Iowa legislator if we can. That's the goal, or at least get information to them that explains why there are barriers to people with disabilities in Iowa working and what can be done to fix that. And we want as many people as possible who are experiencing those barriers to participate and be willing to reach out to your legislators in the next couple months. But really, we need everybody to do this. This is it's a policy change, but also it's kind of a change in mindset for how we look at people with disabilities and what they're able to do, but also what they're not able to do because they have limitations because of their disability, which means most people have to be on Medicaid because private insurance, it will not cover them, or that's the only thing available to them. Even if you work part-time, most people are not eligible to be on their employer's private insurance, or sometimes there isn't any. And Medicaid is their only option. And because of that, they can only have so much income and assets. And so our lawmakers need to understand why that's an issue. And it's not just an issue for people with disabilities, it's an issue for the workforce, and it's an issue for employers. And it's an issue for the state, because tracking people and how much their income and assets are costs the state money that is part of the Medicaid program. So if some of that is eliminated, we could potentially reduce administrative costs. So there's a lot of kind of wheels in motion here about why this is a good idea. It's not just for the individuals who will be directly impacted, but for all of us who especially work with people with disabilities who want to work and enter the workforce, and those coming out of high school. And for those of you who are parents or young kids who may have the potential, this removes a barrier. So the blitz of this campaign is the phase 1. It starts today. It's actually tomorrow, November 1st, but we're starting today since we were on Capitol Chat. And what we're asking everyone to do who's willing is to sign up for the blitz. That means that you'd be willing to reach out to your legislator in November and December and talk to them about employment for people with disabilities, and follow back up with us and let us know what they said, so we can get an idea of what our challenges are going to be for the legislative session, and also talk about talking points. If you sign up for the blitz, you will get information on how to blitz, which means how to contact your legislator, what to say, talking points, what else? Who your legislators are, if you don't know who they are. So hopefully everything that you need to know. And also, we will offer assistance. So if you have never contacted your legislator before and don't know what to do, you can call us up. Our public policy committee and members of our council are willing to work with you to help you make those contacts, whatever they may look like, whether it's through an email or hopefully in person, if you're able to do that. So we have the blitz link on the slide there, and we'll put it in the chat also, and hope that you will sign up and also share with the people that you work with and that you are part of your family and that you love, and hopefully tell some of those stories that we heard during National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And I wonder if, Brooke, you want to talk about our some success stories that came out of the month.
Yeah, we did. I want to give a shout out to Representative Zabner, Representative Jennifer Smith, Senator Matt Blake, and Representative McBurry. They participated in Take Your Legislator to Work Day and visited some of our advocates at their jobs. And so we appreciate them taking the time to learn a little bit more about why people love their jobs, what they like about it, and a little bit of the challenges about some of the stuff that Carlin mentioned about sometimes it's hard for the barriers to stay employed and keep employed and still keep your Medicaid and your other assistance programs. But a shout out to those senators and representatives that did participate. We do this in October as part of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, but you really can invite your legislators to come visit you at work at any time. So just because the month is ending today, if you still want to participate in this campaign and would like to showcase where you work and your business, you can definitely still participate, and we're here to help you do that. So don't have to do it just in October. You can do it year round to talk about your work and why it's important to you.
Thanks. So it's great timing for coming out of this month and moving into the Blitz, which we hope you will all join into, and also catch up more on the Let Us Work campaign. We just have pulled this together and launched it, and so it will soon also be on our website, and there will be some resource materials there. And again, if you sign up, you will get information sent to you directly to help you get your Blitz done. So thanks for considering signing up for it. We're excited about it, and we hope to really have a lot of outreach as a result. Another kind of request we have, and that we got a request from legislators. A particular legislator recently reached out who wants to hear more about MCOs and denials that his constituents are getting. We talk a lot about MCOs denying services and equipment and things that doctors prescribe under Medicaid and are denied by the MCO. And so we want to put a little more concrete information about, what these denials look like, who's getting them, who's giving them, how they're happening. And so basically we're asking if you have been someone or your family member has had a denial by an MCO that you did not agree with, obviously, to please share your experience. And what we want to do is, compile the stories and be able to share them with legislators. But we, can keep your personal information confidential if you request that. But the idea is for them to know, what's happening. And we've had legislators in the past ask for stories, and sometimes you share a particular person's stories, and then they'll say, "Well, have them call me because I want to know more," and that may happen also. Well, this is a way for us to compile them and actually get hopefully some maybe data points that we can share and be a little more complete in how we're talking about denials. So please, again, hope you're willing to do a little survey. I know this is all sounds like surveys. It's not really a survey. It's sharing your experience, and we'd be grateful if you could share any stories you may have. Dakota said, "How new did the stories have to be?" Good question, Dakota. We put on the form, when did this happen? So you can tell us what happened and when it happened. And so we didn't want to put a date or timeline on it. But it would be helpful to know when it happened so that we can put things in perspective too for the some of the MCOs have changed since, privatization has started. So some of the issues maybe not be around anymore, but I doubt that from what we hear. So hope you're willing to share, and thank you for being willing. I think I'm passing it back to Amy.
Yep. Well, just a reminder, I know we do this every capital chat leading up to elections, but Tuesday is the city and school board elections, and just want to re-emphasize how important those are. Usually not a lot of people turn out for them. Voters don't think about it. But if you really think about all of the things that city councils and school boards do, they really are the things that you see on a day-to-day basis, things like curb cuts and sidewalks and roads and trails, accessible communities, street crossings, how your tax dollars, property tax dollars are spent, parks and libraries. They make decisions about fire and police service. When you look at schools, school busing, school safety, special education, most recently, you've probably heard a lot about banning books. And so there's a lot of things that go into what school boards do, the kind of a curriculum and inclusive environment that you that you expect in a school. So they're do really important things, and a lot of people don't really pay attention to them sometimes. I know the Iowa Education, ISEA, Iowa State Education Association, which represents teachers, they have on their website a guide to school board candidates that meet their values. And so that's one resource. I know that in the Des Moines area, they're doing a lot of they have a lot of, are printing out the candidates' bios and comments about what they want to do in the newspaper. So another good source is your local newspaper to find out about those individuals. But right now, if you have a mail-in ballot, you probably want to, and haven't put it in the mail, you probably want to hand deliver that to your county auditor. They have to be received by 8 o'clock at night on November 4th. So you can't take them to your polls. If you've got a mail-in ballot, you have to take it to the county auditor's office. But the auditor's offices are also open tomorrow to vote early if you want to. Or you can do voting on election day, 7 to 8 p.m. So open pretty broad range. So just a reminder, voting matters. People make some important decisions in your local areas. So that kind of brings us to our wrap up, but I kind of want to just, before I just note a few things, and then we'll open it up for discussion about anything that we talked about, or things that we didn't talk about, or things you want to talk about in our December meeting. But we have one last capital chat during the holidays. We just combine the November and December and do December 5th for an hour. It'll be our last hour long capital chat until next summer. Because we will transition back to our every 2 weeks capital chats for half an hour during the legislative session. And you can see at the end of that, I have all of the dates already for those capital chats. We may have to do some changes of those if we hit a holiday or something, but the legislature's back January 12th, and then we will start right up again on January 23rd. So we will probably talk a lot about what the governor's budget has included in it, and any of her priorities, as well as any bills that have passed. You can always get our capital chat recordings on our website. We have them all up there. There are a couple highlights. I re-put in those. We have the DD Council annual survey that just helps guide the DD Council in determining what things we should be doing, what we're doing right, what we need to course correct on. Your MCO experience link. And as well, the Harkin Institute and Iowa Disability Policy Alliance are hosting a panel to talk about how policy shifts are impacting the disability community. And that is November 13th, 6 to 8. It is in person. I don't know if there's a Zoom option, maybe Carlin does, but there is a link to register. It's free, but you do need to register if you want to attend.
There is now an opportunity to participate free virtually too when you register.
Great. So any additional things, Carlin, before we open it up?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think I will disable the stop sharing. If we need to go back, we will. I can stop it. Maybe I can't. There we go. So anybody have anything they want to bring up, discuss, things that we talked about, or other things? Does everybody have their candy for tonight? I don't.
I'm thinking as everybody's thinking too much about their Halloween costumes for tonight, not questions.
Are there things that you guys want us to talk about in December? I mean, we'll probably talk about what we're hearing as issues, but if there are any things that you want to, we'll probably talk about an update on a blitz, how we're doing, but maybe the government's reopened. I have friends out in DC that say it's going to be January before it reopens, federal government reopens. It'll be a rough Christmas for people. I thought I saw a hand go up.
Krista has her hand up.
Hey, folks, my name is Krista Stevens. I'm with Autism Speaks, and I'm not in Iowa, and I can't claim that special privilege. I'm actually based in Dallas, but I love this event, your Capital Chats, because I monitor and try to help when I can with Iowa. And I did want to tell you all about a really great webinar that I saw this week, and I'm going to put it in the chat. It was explaining how OBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, is going to directly affect individuals with disabilities. And it's been the most targeted educational piece, I guess, I've seen that directly connects OBA to the disability community. And so I put it in the chat there. It was very good and it's available. I can also put the slides in the chat. I got a link for that. But I think one thing that you want to think about is that, you know, Iowa is a Medicaid expansion state. And so it is going to be subject to a lot of the work requirements that are part of OBA that are in addition then to what you're experiencing through Governor Reynolds' initiative for work requirements. So I don't really know how those two are going to overlap yet, but the timetable for the work requirements for OBA are pretty quick. And so I think the community will want to get as familiar as possible about the exemptions, the exclusions that oftentimes people with disabilities can take advantage of. And that webinar can help with that.
Thanks, Krista. Thanks for joining us from another red state.
Sure, absolutely.
Actually, our work requirement bill would have started in January, so we're kind of glad that the governor decided to follow the federal work requirement schedule, which would have been which gives us a whole year now. So that would have been really crazy if we were already starting it, but that's great. We've been trying to keep up on all of the impacts of OBA and all the executive orders, and our list got so long trying to keep up with all of them. So thank you for that resource. We'll also, for everyone, I will post that on our social media channels too, so that you will find it there too. Hey, Dakota.
Hey, I just have a quick question. So I don't know, a couple months ago, I heard that people that are up for new wheelchairs every 5 years, they are trying, I don't know who this is, but somebody is trying to make that to be 6 to 8 years. So I'm just curious if that was just a rumor or if that was like facts, and if there's any updates on that as far as that goes.
I hadn't heard that. Have you, Carlin? That's scary.
Dakota, who did you hear that from?
So I do know that I was in a meeting with my care team, and they said that they had an individual just get denied for their new wheelchair because it was supposedly too new in order to get a new one. And right now you can get a new one every 5 years, but I don't know. I heard it somewhere. I can't remember where. I've heard a lot of stuff, but yeah, I've been hearing that could change as well.
That Thanks, Dakota. That's how I get most of my information, honestly, is rumors. So I think that sounds on par. I mean, I've heard a lot of cost containment measures they're trying to do. So changes in policies and procedures that would save money. I know the MCOs in Iowa right now are doing that. They're trying to figure out how to save money. Cause they know, I think they know they're not gonna get their full capacity, get all the money they need. So I worry about on the state side as well, not just, but also federal level, they're supposedly going through and looking for ways to save money. That doesn't really save money if somebody can't get around in the community and then they can't go to work and they can't go to their doctor's offices because their wheelchair isn't.
Or they can't fit in their wheelchair.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Thanks. Anyone else? Brooke or Carlin, do you have anything more you want to share? Well, I think we can give you guys 15 minutes or 10 minutes back in your day and
We
please
can give you
spread the
some
word.
time to fill out all those surveys we put in
Yeah.
there.
Sorry, we're
I was gonna
surveying you
say-
all so much, but
I was gonna say, please sign up for the Blitz and send that out through your networks too, because we have 150 legislators and it would be awesome if each one of them got several contacts, not just reaching every legislator, but actually getting a few. And I can tell you, legislators have told me if they hear from one person, they know they got an issue. If they hear from two, they know there's a problem. They hear from three, it's a crisis. So it doesn't really take that many personal notes for people to pay attention. So anything you can do to help get the word out on that, we appreciate.
Good advice, Amy. I'll mention too that this the Blitz is, phase one of our campaign. Phase two is during the legislative session, and we want to have a presence at the Capitol for people with disabilities every single day that the legislature is in session. So please start considering now what day you may be able to come to the Capitol between mid-January and through March, and we will help guide you and provide the same kind of resources and support that we're doing during the Blitz. But we'll be there to help. So start thinking about that now. Phase two. Thank you.
All right. Well, happy Halloween, everyone. Enjoy trick-or-treating.
Happy Halloween. Don't get too scared.